Hi all, welcome back to BRR Knowledge Center. So in this session, we'll talk about the web technologies lesson three. That is, let me get that discussion point. So designing and web development. So we'll discuss what is the designing and what is the web development. So web design or design both are same. So web design and development is a kind of mixed content which comes under no kind of umbrella term because we cannot differentiate these two and we cannot talk separately. These two are comes under one umbrella, so that's why web design and development are an umbrella term that describes the process of creating websites like the name says. It involves two major skill sets like web design and web development. So here, design or web design determines the look and feel of a website, right? And the web development, while web development, this web development determines how it functioning, right? So designing and web development both are a single term and both are comes under one umbrella. We cannot talk separately. So designing is nothing but something look and feel of your website which you are going to do, and web development is nothing but it is going to tell about how the functioning happens. Okay, so as a I think we'll talk in the whiteboard. Let me share my screen so that you will have idea on that. I'm just sharing my notepad, right? So here I'm going to talk about here web design and web development, right? So these two are the terms comes under one umbrella, and then this name itself says, right, one thing is for design, which involves to kind of web design, and development is involves functioning stuff we are going to write. So a web designer is a graphic artist who is going to responsible, right, for designing the layouts and kind of UI, usability and visual appearance of any website. That's kind of UI developer, we can say that. So this web designer who is going to design your website by just providing some screens, you can say markup screens. We can say that they are just putting all the markup screens which are related to your required website, and then they place it some layouts, so usability and visual appearance of website, how it looks like, kind of stuff. When it comes to developer, a web developer is someone who builds and maintain the structure of a website. So a successful web designer must possess an array of creative, graphic, and technical skills, right? So designer must have a skill set of kind of creativity and design skill set, and some kind of graphical skill set. When it comes to developer, like we should have you should have some technology stuff which is going to helpful for writing a program. So a web developer is tasked with converting the web design into a functional website using some coding languages such as HTML, JavaScript, .NET, Python, etc. So if you are considering a career as a web designer or a developer, you will need a deep understanding of different roles, right? And the required qualifications and skill set. So you should also consider factors such as an average wage, career growth opportunities, and the different type of web designer and developers. So I think in this session we'll break down the role of web designer versus web developer, and we'll see and discuss how you might go about choosing between these two paths, right? So coming to the web design, so and development. So I can say, right, web design and web development is an umbrella term that describes the process of creating a website, right? So web design and web development. This web designer, or you can say web design, right? You can say web designer determines the look and feel of a website, right? Whereas web developer determines the function or how it functions, right? So the designer skill set looks like, the web designer should have skill sets in, right, creative, graphic, right, and technical skills. Whereas web developer, right, is the person who is going to converting the web design into functional website. This developer should have a skill sets in, right, coding languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, .NET, Python, Java, right, etc. So if you are considering a career as a web designer or developer, you must know these areas, right? So basically, the web designer is a graphic artist who is responsible for designing the layout, right? So skill set, you should have a creative and a design and graphic skills that you require as a web designer, and web developer must have coding languages expertise. So there are two type of web designers. We talk about type of web designers, right? There are different type of web designers, each focusing on unique and specified type of work these are. So we cannot say two. So there are, right, different types of web designers. We'll talk about something like, one thing is user experience, that is UX we are talking, and second thing is user interface, that is UI, and third one is visual. So when I talk about UX designer, like user experience designer, right, user experience, right, UX, when I talk about these designers, so these designers helps ensure the website is structured in a way that engages and deliver a positive experience. So their role is just to create a human-centric designs that are based on the data-driven decisions. So this involves conducting a lot of research and testing to gather and analyze the data, which is used to inform their final design choices. So UX designers, right, help ensure the website is structured in a way, right, that engages visitors and delivers a positive experience. So their role is to create human-centric designs, right? So their role is to create human-centric designs that are, right, based on the data-driven decisions. So I think these guys are, conducting a lot of research. So these guys are conducting, right, lot of research and testing to gather, right, and analyze data which is used to inform their final design, right? And coming to the UI designers, right? So UI designers also play an important role in the design of website. In addition to that experience, it provides they also, right? So it provides or they provides or they have some priority interactions. So that's why they will prioritize the kind of tasks and interactions. More specifically, their role is to enhance the usability of a website, right? So and optimize it in a way that helps encourage conversions, right? So these or UI designers also play an important role, right, in the design of website. In addition to the experience it provides, so they also prioritize interactions. So more specifically, their role is to enhance the usability, right? How it is interacting to the users or how it is visible, right? And then optimize in a way that helps increase conversions, right? So this is the main role of UI designers. So when it comes to visual designers, so we have done this visual, sorry, user experience, user interface. Now coming to the visual, right? We get that visual designers. These two are different designers, UX and UI. And coming to the visual designers, right? So visual designers, like the title itself says that work with the layout and visual elements of website. This work combines the certain aspect of UX and UI, like user experience and user designs. The duties of visual designers are based on ensuring that interface is both authentically or kind of accessibly to the users in a pleasant manner and easy to use, right? So they're going to authenticate and they can say and they can work on these websites and make sure that they are very easy for the users to access. So these guys are basically looking at the visual appearances of website. So visual designers, right, uh, are the other developers whose looks at the layouts, visual elements of website. So this work combines, the certain aspect of both UX and UIs. So these guys will work with no UX and UI designers, and their role is to make site very easy to access by user. Okay, so these are the couple of roles or types in the web designer, right? And coming to the skill set required for web designers, skills set required for web designers, because this is the main question everybody's having it, right? So HTML and CSS, right? And understanding the principles of website design and web accessibility standard and responsive and interaction design. So responsive and kind of interactions design, and user journey mapping, right? And branding, color theory, and typography, and design tools and softwares. So understanding the principles of website design and web accessibility standards, that what we discussed in the earlier sessions. So wireframing and prototyping, they should have it so that they can design screens in using wireframing, and this shall provide the POCs, right, with some markup screens. So these are the couple of tools. These are a couple of skill set which we require as a designer. So there are also a number of non-technical skills that are important for web designer. For example, strong communication skills. We can say strong communication skills, right? Because these are necessary for properly communicating with client to set and manage meetings, right? So that they can know that expectations what managers or the client is having it. Additionally, having the ability to collaborate with others on a team. So, such as web developers are important of ensuring that each project goes a smoother way. So, this is anyway an additional skill set they need, right? So far, I think this is about web designer. Now, when talk about web developer, so web developer primarily job is to build and maintain the core structure of website. Their role involves a lot of technical work, including using complex coding and advanced programming language. Okay, when you talk about web developer, right? So, a web developer, right? Primary, role is to build and maintain the core structure of website. So, right, their role involves a lot of technical work, including using complex coding and advanced programming languages. So, in a nutshell, they task the ideas and concepts laid out by designer and turn them into a real live and fully functioning website. So, in a nutshell, if I want to tell about the web developer role is they take, right, ideas and concepts from designer, right, and turn them into real live fully functioning websites. Okay, so to better understanding the role of a developer, it might help to compare it to another field, such as if you look at construction field, a web developer is to website where and what a construction company is to new house they wanted to build. Developer takes the design plan and blueprint of this building drafted by the architect, like in this case, web designer, and they ensure that there is a functional and sound structure in place, and they start building that. So there are type of developers we have as like designers. So there are several, right, web developers we have. Typically, web developer focuses on handful of programming languages, as I mentioned. So the language they use, however, will depend on the type of development works they do. So it's not a mandatory of having so on X or Y skill set. They might have different skill set. It all depends on the project and domain they're working. So when it comes to the developer types, we have right, front end developers, right, back end developers, right, and full stack. These three categories we have, right. When you talk about front end developers code the actual website using CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and other languages if they want. And these front end developers, what they'll do is they'll make UI, these programming languages, and they just finish that work and hand over it to a kind of back-end developer. So front-end developer, also known as a client-side developers, largely involves coding and programming the visual elements and that users will see. As such, there is a fair amount of overlap and collaborations between front-end developers and web designers, because these web front-end developers so frequently interacting and communicating with web designers to know and understand about the structure and the visual appearance of website. So front-end developer, who are all these front-end developers? So these developers are coders and actual developers for website development using HTML, CSS, scripting, and uh, I think other programming languages. Okay, so as well, content management systems such as WordPress. They should know that, right? Other languages as well as CMS such as WordPress, content management system. The front end developers are also a client side developers. Front end developers, also known as client side development, largely involves coding and programming the visual elements of a website. Okay. So these front end developers basically builds the application and programming the concept to visualize the elements given by the web designer. Okay, that users will see. So there is a fair amount of overlap and collaboration between front end and developers, right, and web designers. So basically, when you talk about front-end developers, so these are the main developers who are going to visualize the elements using some programming aspects. So UI, these guys are going to build it using programming language such as HTML and CSS, some scripting and other programming language. And coming to the back-end developers, right? So these backend developers basically looks for the kind of services. Backend developers code the database and serve using advanced programming language such as ASP and C Sharp or Java, Ruby, and Node.js and other server-side frameworks if they wanted. So these guys are also known as the server-side development persons, which mainly encompasses the aspects of website happening behind the scenes. So which visitors don't see from the front end basically, right? So backend developers code the database and advanced programming such as ASP, C Sharp, Angular, SQL, as well as Node.js and other server-side programming languages. Okay, so front-end developers basically doing some UI, and back-end developers basically communicates the database and get the data and give it to front-end UI. So back-end development, which we are having, it is not visible, right? Behind the scene, what is happening, we can't see that. But visitors can see the data, but the process, how it is going in backend, is not going to be visible. So this backend development, also known as server-side development, we can say that backend development, also known as server-side programming, mainly encompasses the aspect of website happening behind the scenes, which visitors don't see from the front end. Okay, this is something backend developers. And coming to the full stack developers. Finally, full stack developers code both the front end and back end of a website. They have a solid understanding of how these parts works and functioning. So in addition to that, coding a web page using CSS and HTML, full stack developers also set up a configure servers, code application programming interface, that is kind of application programming interfaces APIs, and they can query the database and then they map the data to the UI. So full stack developers, finally, full stack developers code both the front end and back end of a website. So they have a solid understanding of how these parts work and function together. So in addition to that, right? I mean, in addition to programming using CSS and HTML, so they also set up the configure servers. That means in addition to the coding, they also set up, right, and configure servers via application programming interfaces. These are called APIs. And then query databases and more. So the skill sets of developers or web developer we require to create a website is so coding and programming skill set, such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and ASP.NET, C Sharp, Java, etc. JavaScript framework like jQuery, so they must have this client-side library. JavaScript framework like jQuery they require, and testing and debugging they must have a skill set, because if they wanted to debug it they should know how to debug it. If they wanted to test it they should know how to test it. And the same way backends and database awareness should have backends, and databases awareness should have. And also content management system they need, they must have the skill set. And search engine optimization they should understand, right? SEO and content management system, right? So in addition to the technical skills there are also no kind of non-technical skills that they require, that is communication, because they should have communicated with the web designer to showcase the POCs which they have been done using programming languages, and they should have some interactions with them to finalize the website development. They should have a collaboration between these two also, right? So in addition to that, there are also non-technical sets that come in handy of a developer, right? So non-technical skills they need, such as say problem solving, and analytical thinking, which can be useful during the debugging, right? So, and along with that, I think they need a communication. It's also one of the important solid skills that they need, right? That is communication skill set, the collaboration skill. So these are the couple of skill set we need for a developer to communicate the web designers during the development, and they'll build website. Okay, so these are the couple of things we need to have when it comes to web design and development. So in the web design and web development, the both words comes under one word, and that is website development. Web design is basically looking at the layout and visual elements and feel and look, and web developer basically getting or jump into the programming stuff to make build of a website given by the design web designers. So web designers basically we have three type. This is the basic web designers are talking about UX and UI and visual. And the developers we basically front end and back end full stack. So these guys, everyone is involving in the development of website, and they make as expected website for the company or the client. So this is something we talk about web design and web development, and also we have discussed about the skill set we require for web designer. These are the web designer skill set they require, and these are the skill set required for web developer. Okay, so I hope you understand what is a web design and what is a web development, right? As part of this topic, that is web designing and web development, and based on the web designing, so the developer or a web developer is going to build a website. Okay, so thanks for listening to this video, and please subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you.